I decided to use Tinder after a while of being single. I matched with Rachel after looking through a ton of profiles. We struck up a conversation because she seemed nice and cute. We quickly became friends and agreed to meet up at a local bar. As gorgeous as she appeared in her photographs, she was seated at a table when I got there. We placed drink orders and conversed for a while, laughing and getting to know one another. As the evening wore on, things became a little hazy. I don't remember much, but I do recall that Rachel and I ultimately returned to my apartment. At that point, events began to turn gloomy. The following morning when I awoke, all of my valuables were gone. My purse, phone, and laptop had all vanished. But the worst part wasn't that. I soon came to the conclusion that Rachel had drugged and robbed me. Fearful and violated, I felt. I wasn't sure what to do or who to contact. I considered calling the police, but I was hesitant at first because I felt humiliated by how she had deceived me. I was at my wit's end. I waited for Rachel to call for days, but she never did. But then she messaged me on Tinder, out of the blue. It was so unbelievable to me. I was both enraged and terrified at the same time. I didn't know what she desired or what she was capable of. She demanded more cash from me, or else she would post private photos and videos of us online. I experienced stomach pains. That this was happening to me, I found it hard to believe. She refused to listen to my arguments to convince her. Like a predator pursuing its prey, she was cold and ruthless. I had the impression that I was alone and trapped in a scary movie. At some point, I made the decision to act independently. Having done what she had to me, I knew I couldn't let her off the hook. I therefore devised a plan. I told Rachel I would meet her at a nearby park and give her the cash she requested. I was, however, prepared when she arrived. The police were the ones who instructed me to accept the meeting so they could arrest her after I called them. They were waiting close by. I called the police and they arrived right away as soon as I saw her. When Rachel attempted to flee, someone quickly caught up with her. I was finally able to receive justice after she was accused of stealing and extortion. But the experience had changed me. Anyone, especially total strangers on dating apps, was no longer someone I could trust. I felt as though I had lost a piece of myself and would never get it back. I'm shocked by how easily I was seduced by Rachel, now that I look back on it. But I suppose that's the thing with horror tales. They're almost always a lot scarier when they're true. My interest in the world of online dating has always been piqued by the possibility of meeting people who share my interests. After a string of unsatisfying relationships, I finally decided to give it a try. Without thinking twice, I downloaded the app, created a profile, and jumped right into the pool of potential matches. One night, I came across a profile that grabbed my attention. Elegant photographs and a clever biography all seemed too good to be true. The person was Emily, and we were interested in the same things. We immediately bonded, and communication was simple. Soon after exchanging numbers, we began communicating frequently via messaging. The days turned into weeks, and I grew closer to Emily. I started talking about things I had never disclosed before as our conversations went on. But a persistent unease began to creep in. She seemed to know a great deal about me, even things I hadn't said out loud. She dismissed it when I questioned her, saying that they had great conversations. One evening, Emily made an unexpected revelation. She insisted that we had already met, supposedly at a nearby coffee shop that I frequently went to. She discussed my appearance in great detail, including the book I was reading that day. She had never been there, and I had never encountered anyone who matched her description. So I was baffled. My mind briefly wondered if someone was pulling a joke on me, but her pictures and our conversations disproved that. Emily's messages took on a darker tone that alluded to an obsession. She was aware of my daily routine, favorite hangouts, and even my commute. Out of fear, I started questioning every red flag for online relationships that I had ever read. I tried to stay away, but Emily's messages got angrier and angrier, turning from pleading to threatening. One evening as I was watching TV, I saw a photo of my couch that had been taken from the outside. I spun around quickly, but nobody was outside. My chest was thumping. As I spoke with Emily about the photo, I was trembling. She acknowledged being close to my apartment and claimed it was just a coincidence, but the lie was as blatant as glass. I became increasingly anxious and tense. I became so fixated on jumping at every noise outside that I began locking my doors. The online space I once cherished feels like it's calling to me again right now, increasingly unsettling. Emily's messages included threats and implied that she knew where I was at all times. I told a friend what was happening, and she advised me to call the police. Emily's digital footprints were tracked by the police as they thoroughly investigated my case. They found the web of fake profiles and altered photos that Emily had used to infiltrate my life, and it made my stomach turn. They eventually caught the real Emily, a disturbed person who had become fixated on me after discovering my profile. They must be driven by some perverted combination of obsession and loneliness. But this is still unknown. Being safe made me happy, but for a while after, I also felt violated. I never would have thought that my quest for love would lead me down such a terrifying road. On a well-known online dating app, everything began innocently enough with a swipe and a match. His charming profile captured my attention, and his messages maintained it. Our conversations went without a hitch. We decided to meet in a warm cafe because it felt safe to do so. When the evening arrived, a rush of dread and excitement raced through my body as I shakily entered the cafe. He was exactly as I remembered him from his photos when I saw him sitting by the window, tall, with comforting dark hair. We greeted one another and then struck up a discussion about everything from our aspirations to our interests. It was, in my opinion, a great start. As hours flew by, I was captivated by his charisma. His attempts to get to know me seemed sincere, and he did a commendable job of keeping my attention with his tales. His gaze occasionally lingered a little too long, which gave me the chills. I made an effort to mask my discomfort and enjoy the evening by attributing it to nerves. Suddenly, the subject was altered. He suggested that we take a stroll to extend our conversation. I paused and cast my gaze out into the night. When meeting people I met online, I had heard warnings to be cautious because danger can hide behind attractive appearances. But he insisted, telling me there was a lovely trail close by that was hidden from the bustle of the city. I considered my options while torn between being polite and my mounting discomfort. In the end, I turned down his invitation, stating that I would prefer to go home because I was feeling a little tired. We left the cafe after a brief pause in which his smile faltered. I experienced a knot in my stomach tighten as we strolled through the dimly lit streets. His previously upbeat demeanor had changed, and there was now a tension in the air. Hoping to get to a busier area sooner, I picked up the pace. He suddenly tightened his hold on my arm while adopting a sinister expression though. He tried to lead me down a dark, lonely path that led into the woods, his voice dripping with malice. "Come with me," he hissed. Panic swept through me, and my heart pounded in my chest. My instincts were fueled by adrenaline, so I yanked myself away from his hold while stumbling backward. His eyes were now filled with a menacing determination, and I could feel his rage consuming me. My fear gave way to a fervent resolve as I withdrew. My voice trembled, but was defiant as I yelled, "Stay away from me!" When they felt the tension in the air, onlookers turned their heads. My would-be attacker hesitated, conflicted by his evil motives and the attention we were attracting. I took the opportunity to sprint towards a group of people while gasping for air and feeling my heart race in my ears. For fear of what I might see, I never turned around. Swiping right on a dating app that night saved me from a horror I had never imagined. It served as a chilling reminder that there might be unfathomable darkness concealed behind the polished exterior of a profile. I learned the hard way to value my safety above all else and to trust my instincts.